Hi, everybody. My name is Author Shanequa Dasher, and I'm the author of the book Calculate and Create Adventures 2 times 2 equals 1, and I'm done. This book is the first of many in a series, many to come in a series of Calculate and Create Adventures. This book also has a workbook that accompanies it that has math and craft activities. I think there's a slime recipe in there and lots of good fun. So let's start reading the story. You can follow along with the illustrations as I read from the book. Most of the pictures you see will be the pictures from the book. And then I have a few bonus pictures added. Calculate and Create Adventures 2 times 2 equals 1, and I'm done by Shanequa Dasher. Chapter 1. Welcome to 6th grade. Josie was the ultimate crafty fashionista. She loved designing her own clothes and creating decor for her first locker. You name it, Josie's crafted something for it. So it was no surprise that when her new teachers sent everyone home to create book covers for their textbooks, Josie went about it in a grand fashion. She visited the art resource room, gathered a few helpful supplies, and hurried home, excited to show off her new book cover designs before they were even finished. When Josie returned to school the next day, all of her books had meticulously designed covers, exploding with fabulous flair. Well, every book but one. Do you think you know what book it is? Let's see. Her 4th period math book. Josie had very strong opinions about what did and did not deserve her creativity, and math was one of the subjects that definitely did not. You see, Josie despised math. She thought it was useless and believed the world was too beautiful to be bogged down with numbers and calculations. I mean, when in life are we actually going to multiply or use algebra? Math is about as relevant as my 6th grade wiffle ball class, and who actually needs wiffle ball? Josie thought to herself all of these things, finding true frustration in things that did not feed her creativity. Chapter 2, the math Tastrophe. During her 4th period math block, Josie entered the classroom arm in arm with her best friend Giselle and dragging her less than fancy brown paper bag math book on the ground by a rope like a sick dog. Giselle was a math superstar and always sat up front during class. Knowing how Josie felt about math, Giselle encouraged her to also sit up front, thinking maybe she would finally get some enjoyment out of class. Josie complied, but made sure she sat in the corner of the 2nd row behind Big Rob, hoping to somewhat hide behind his marshmallow-shaped fluff body. With the master plan in mind, Josie insisted that math was her nap time. So she laid down her head and began to doodle in her notebook until she fell into a deep slumber. Josie, Miss Benson abruptly asked, loud enough to get her attention, can you please help me solve this math problem? Josie slowly got up from her desk with her eyes half closed and with a big yawn, bellowed, 2 times 2 equals 1, and I'm done. Josie melted back into her seat and at this time added a little flair to her style by reaching into her crossbody purse to retrieve a pair of big black sunglasses to hide her nap face. Miss Benson was fuming, but decided that now wasn't the time to bicker back and forth with a student. The bell rang and it was time for fifth period. Art, finally, Josie exclaimed, ready to leave math class. But her excitement was quickly interrupted by Mrs. Benson's stern voice. Not so fast, Josie, she insisted. We need to chat. Josie walked towards her as Miss Benson continued. What's going on with you? You slept for nearly the entire class. Are you having a hard time adjusting to sixth grade? Taking a deep breath, Josie let out a reluctant sigh. It's not that, Miss Benson. It has nothing to do with you. I don't really like math. I don't see the point of it beyond school. Well, there's got to be something you enjoy, Miss Benson replied, with a puzzled facial expression as she asked, don't you like to sew? Well, yes, of course, Josie replied, slightly confused, not fully realizing how this question related to the conversation at hand. Well, the drama club's costume department desperately needs help. Are you free to join us this afternoon? Your best friend Giselle is starring as the lead in our new production. You'll be able to design her costume as a bonus. Great. Meet us in the resource room. Josie was excited. Yes, I'd love to join. Well, great. Meet us in the resource room. Connected to the theater at 3:00, Miss Benson instructed. Excited, Josie grinned from ear to ear. I know exactly where that is. I'll be there. After falling asleep in math class, Josie figured the conversation with Miss Benson was destined to go in a totally different direction. She never in a million years expected it to end by being invited to do something that she truly loved. Chapter 3, Drama Time. As the final school bell sounded, Josie and Giselle linked arms and skipped over to the Art Resource Room and theater, respectively, for drama club. Giselle walked onto the stage and began to practice, and Josie convened with the costume and set design team to begin planning for their production of The Teenage Mermaid. Miss Benson walked around the table and asked for the team's attention. Okay, squad, here's our mission. Because this year's production is The Teenage Mermaid, we're going to need lots of water props and at least 20 mermaid tails. The cast has to be able to practice in their tails as soon as possible, since they won't be able to walk with a mermaid tail. Before Miss Benson finished giving instructions, Josie was already wrapping up a sketch. She held up her pen and pad and showed the team her plan for a beautifully designed mermaid tail reverse high-low skirt. I added pants underneath so everyone could walk and dance freely. This is great, Miss Benson exclaimed. Let's get the construction plans for this underway immediately, Josie. I'm going to allow you and Kayla to take the lead on the costume design, and the rest of the team will wrap up with the set design. Josie and Kayla gathered their belongings and began planning. Wow, I love your design idea. Miss Benson's plan was to have everyone wheeled out on stage on a water wagon with a closed mermaid tail and no movement. This makes so much more sense, Kayla said to Josie before they got started. Josie blushed as she replied, I appreciate that, Kayla. Coming up with creative designs feels so natural to me. I'm excited to get started. Josie continued, so we need 20 tails. I made one of these last year for Halloween, and I needed about 1.5 to 2 yards of fabric for the length and the fin at the bottom. So if 20 people need 2 yards of fabric, all right, guys, we're going to stop there. And I want you to think about that. If 20 people need 2 yards of fabric, How many yards of fabric are we going to need all together? Josie began to work out the problem on her sketch pad. All right, we're going to find out the answer right now. Hopefully you have it. 40 yards of fabric, because 20 times 2 equals 40. Simultaneously, Josie and Kayla exclaimed, "We'll need 40 yards of fabric." Pleased to have come up with the same conclusion, they smiled at one another and high-fived. "Now, let's choose our fabric style," said Josie. Josie truly loved this process and pulled out her phone to view a local fabric store's fabric prices. "Kayla, what's our budget again?" Miss Benson said we have about $250 for everyone's tails, Kayla replied. Josie was in deep thought as she jotted down a few prices. "Okay, this pretty sequin fabric is $10 per yard. This plain cotton fabric is $4 per yard, but we'll have to make it look better. This stretchy super shimmer fabric, which has a perfect look and feel for the stage, is $6 per yard. How much would it cost us to make tails using each of these?" In a matter of seconds, Josie calculated the total price for each fabric on her clipboard. We need 40 yards times $10 per yard. That would be $400 for the sequin fabric. 40 times $4 per yard would be $160 for the cotton fabric, but you still have to add some more design. And then the 40 times $6 per yard would be $240. And we have a budget of $250. So Josie selected fabric number 3. Kayla was impressed with how quickly Josie calculated their fabric needs. "You're amazing at math," she told Josie. "Math?" Josie responded, confused. She was doing what came naturally to her in the world of creating, not realizing it had everything to do with math. "I never thought of it that way. I guess this is math." With their fabric choices in hand, Josie and Kayla went to Miss Benson to show their costume production plan and budget. "Good job, girls," Miss Benson said before inquiring, "Who came up with the numbers?" "I did, Miss Benson," Josie said proudly. "I actually realized that when I design clothing and create most of my crafts, I'm actually using math. I guess I just needed to realize how useful math was before I dismissed it so quickly." "I completely understand, Josie," Ms. Vincent empathized. "When I was your age, I felt the same way about math. If you don't mind, I'd like to task you with being both the lead costume designer and the budget manager for costumes and props. Would you like to help with that?" Without hesitation, Josie shouted excitedly, "Absolutely!" Looks like she actually does like math. Josie went over to a large whiteboard on the opposite side of the resource room and wrote down the calculations for the sizes and quantities needed for the set and costumes. For once, she felt like she was truly adding value to help others. And for the drama club, she was an absolute lifesaver. In class, Josie's attitude, chapter 4, the new mathitude. In class, Josie's attitude about math quickly turned around. Sixth grade no longer felt cloudy around fourth period, and she even designed a new book cover for her math book. In fact, Miss Benson asked Josie to solve a word problem in class, and she was actually awake and her answer had evolved. And let's read that math problem. The drama department needs to make 2 mermaid tails for the lead characters that require 2 yards of fabric each. How many yards of fabric does the drama department need? Solve that problem. How many yards of fabric does the drama department need? 2 times 2 equals 4, and I'm ready for some more. She was so excited to redeem herself in front of her classmates. The more she exercised her problem-solving math muscle, the better she was able to perform her role as a lead costume designer and budget manager. Josie was on cloud 9. She said 2 times 2 equals 4, and I'm ready for some more. Instead of 2 times 2 equals 1, and I'm done. All right, chapter 5, the grand finale. Opening night had finally arrived. Josie managed the entrance, took tickets, and kept track of the proceeds from the ticket sales. Their theater held a capacity of 500, and 476 people had already packed the seats. There was a school group of 22 students and 1 teacher outside, and it was up to Josie to determine if there were enough seats for them to come in. She pulled out her special notepad and worked out the math. So remember, there's 500 seats, 476 of them are already taken. And then we have 22 students and 1 teacher trying to get in. Indeed, there was enough space, and on the book, there's actually the problem being worked out. Indeed, there was enough space for the group to enjoy the show. 500 minus 476 equals 24, and we needed to seat 22 plus 1, which is 23. And so there were enough seats with 1 extra seat left. And as the opening act began, there was 1 special seat left, front and center for Josie to enjoy the fruits of her hard work. She sat back, relaxed, and enjoyed the show. And that is Calculating Create Adventures. 2 times 2 equals 1, and I'm done. I hope that you enjoyed this story by me, Shanequa Dasher, and I look forward to sharing more stories with you. If you'd like your own copy of Calculating Create Adventures, or if you would like to enjoy some of our workbooks, and I'll share some of the workbook pages with you. If you'd like to enjoy our workbook, we've got great activities, slime recipes, and this is a paper doll. We have some challenges. We have crossword puzzles and word searches. So all kinds of fun activities inside of the workbook. You can visit our website at www.dashercreations.com, and it's also available on Amazon. Just search for Calculating Create Adventures by Shanequa Dasher, and you will find it on Amazon. Thank you so much for your attention. I really hope you enjoyed this story. Until next time, bye.